Industry consolidation may sometimes affect the coherence of the brand portfolio, to the point that a rebranding of all or some elements of the brand hierarchy becomes a managerial necessity. As a result of changes in alignment between corporate and product brands, images, which are external perceptions, of the various brand elements of the hierarchy are modified. Another logical consequence of those changes concerns the evolution of the nature of corporate branding in the context of a changing brand architecture. The concept of brand architecture is a useful diagnostic framework to help map the often complex collection of brands owned by large companies. The conception of brand architecture is a useful diagnostic framework to help map the often complex collection of brands owned by large companies. Okay. However, it is essentially a static framework that provides a snapshot of a corporation's brand structure. It does not offer much understanding of the vertical interaction among levels within the brand hierarchy, nor does it capture the fundamental variations in the nature of or strength of corporate brands emanating from those interactions. Okay, so that's a disadvantage of it, so I'll write that down. Disadvantage of this framework. It is a framework, right? It is. Another logical changes of the evolution of the normal recording of brand architecture, the concept of brand architecture, the diagnostic framework. Yep. The concept of brand architecture is a useful. So brand architecture is a diagnostic framework. So brand architecture is a diagnostic framework to help map the often complex collection of brands owned by large companies. To help map the collection of brands. So brand architecture is basically just a map of a big brand own little brand own smaller brands. Yeah? Is that what brand architecture is? To show which large companies own smaller companies, I am guessing. If I just Google the words brand architecture, what does it come up with? What is brand architecture? Brand architecture is the role of each brand and act as a guideline of the inter relationships between brands in your organization. Yep, so it literally is. I spelled architecture wrong. Brand architecture is a diagnostic framework to show which large companies own smaller companies and how they interact. And how they interact. And because I am a visual learner, I will put a little example. For example, and I'll just go on Google Images and use the Coca-Cola example. God damn, Coca-Cola owns a lot of... Damn! It's always interesting to see what large company owns smaller companies. Right, for example, this is a brand architecture framework. I'm listening to lo-fi beats. Brand architecture. Put a little definition in there. Bing, boom. That blue. Brand architecture, a diagnostic framework to show which large companies own smaller companies and how they interact. Companies and smaller companies interact. Disadvantages of this framework. So there are disadvantages. So now I have that context, I can analyze the disadvantages of that. However, it is essential. So it is essentially a static framework which provides a snapshot of a corporate brand structure. So it's however, this is a static view of the corporation's brand structure. Corporation's brand structure. It may change. So and become dated. Is essentially a framework of price establishment. It does not offer much understanding of the vertical interaction among levels within the brand hierarchy. I'm just going to copy that straight up. Vertical interaction, I'll put that in bold, and static, I'll put that in bold. Nor does it capture the fundamental variations in the nature or strength of the corporate brands emanating from those interactions. Okay. Doesn't explain or analyze. Doesn't explain or analyze the variation. There's a lot of unnecessary affluent words in here, like the fundamental variations. Why is the word fundamental in there? Just say the variations. It's a little bit of a pretentious document, but I am guessing in my research I'm going to find a lot of pretentious documents. See, that's the thing that with my work is I have to know when to not write stuff. Vertical action, nor does it capture the vulnerabilities or strength of the corporate brands emanating. It doesn't analyze or explain variation. Variation in the corporate brands nature or strengths. Doesn't explain or analyze variation in the corporate brand's nature or strengths. Cool. As a result, the term corporate brand is often used loosely to describe both, and that's what we learned in the last seminar. We learned that corporate brand is a very loose term. And a product or service, okay. This ambiguity constitutes a gap in the literature that this paper seeks to address by revisiting the brand architecture literature through the prism of an evolutionary strategic decision, that of a rebranding exercise. Okay, so it's trying to bring more, what's it called? Conformity to the definition of what is a corporate brand, because it's a very loose term, and that's what we learned last time. Because we were talking about the definition of a corporate brand, and one of my classmates very, very rightly said, well, if a corporate brand can be defined as a brand which sells a product or service, isn't that every single fucking company? In order to be a company and make money, you have to give a product or a service, surely. Because we were saying that you have a master brand, which is a big brand, which is smaller brands, and then you have a smaller brand, and then that smaller brand deploys a product or service brand, and that's just the general ideas, the customer perception behind that product or service. So, and then people argued, well, what's the point in learning the definition of a corporate brand? It just seems like a corporate brand is just a company. It seems like the corporate brand is, I know it's supposed to be a corporation's branding, but so surely that would go for any corporation, or any company, which is a good point. Following from this analysis, the paper... See, the only fucking problem is I'm going to spend like an hour researching this. I know it's meant to be a half an hour project, but I'm going to spend like an hour researching this, and I feel like I could spend an hour doing more productive stuff. I feel like maybe I could. But fuck it, I've started. I mean, how many pages is this? I've read one page, and that's page 40. Oh my god, there's so much. The last page is page 51. That's 11 pages. And it's taken me 10 minutes to read a page. That is an hour and 10 minutes. No, that's 11 pages, 10 minutes apiece. That's 110 minutes. That's almost an hour and a half. An hour and 20 minutes, right? No, 6, 7, 8 would be, oh, I'm dumb. 60 minutes, another 60 minutes, no, 4, 5, 6, it's 120. So nearly 2 hours. Nearly 2 hours I'd spend on this. Is it worth it? I suppose I'm learning a little bit. I'm learning the definition of, what am I learning the definition of? I'm learning the definition of brand architecture. Okay, I'll keep going. Clarifying the role and function of the corporate branding in the context of brand. The paper starts by reviewing the brand. I don't care what it starts doing. Corporate branding and brand architecture, the alignment between corporate and product brands. That's an interesting. I just talked to you about that. In recent years, multinational corporations, for example, have been managing their identity and image more proactively. Oh, in 15 minutes, I'm going to have lunch. Have been managing their identity and image more proactively. As a result of the brand concept, which was traditionally focused on the product/service level, can now be applied to the entire corporation. Interesting. Okay. Do I want to write that down? I've got to think. This is strategic and something. What is? Do I have to? Oh, honey. Recommending appropriate corporate values. They recommend one is a company's corporate brand and product brand respective values. I don't think this is the one. So I have to pick a brand. And there's 20 examples. I think this is. However, please ensure you identify second research and go down your organization. Oh, this is the purpose-driven one. So the corporation that I pick for this module must be purpose-driven, which is an interesting definition, and like it sounds like it's weird. It sounds like a weird thing to. Oh, look at my hair. That's funny. It sounds like a weird thing to. It sounds like a weird definition, but purpose-driven just means they're a bit ethically good. They're not just making money. They want to give something more than just taking money. And my case study, I was thinking. I mean, they do recommend I use one of the 20 examples, and I'm going to go ahead and assume Amazon is not on those examples because Amazon is not very ethically friendly, even if their website wants you to believe they are. But every single company's website wants you to believe they're ethically friendly. I bet Primark probably has a fucking bit on their thing saying, "Oh, we love people. We don't use sweatshops." But they do. In recent years, multinational corporations have now been managing their identity and image more proactively. So they're just better at managing their image. As a result, the brand concept, which is traditionally focused on utilizing the entire corporation, that seems like a fun thing to say. I might say it. I might just copy it. I might copy that. Except I might put it more in layman's terms because that's a very pretentious way of saying it. As a result, grammatical error there. As a result, the brand concept, which was traditionally focused on the brand, can now be applied to the entire corporation. Okay, I'll keep that. Why not? Identity and image. There we go. Okay. Arguably, however, corporate and product brands have different characteristics. However, corporate and product brands can have very different characteristics and should be analysed with that in mind. Corporate brand versus product brand. The concept of brands emerged from it. I don't fucking care. From the main of customer products and the user list over the years, how the marketing scholars of the traditional brand. One is meaning to compare corporate as well as product brands, fundamental differences between the two. It's just fucking useless in introduction paragraph. The consumer's choice of what they will buy will depend less on the evaluation of the functional benefits to them of the product or service, but rather more on the assessment of the people in the company behind it. Now that is interesting. Their skills, attitudes, behaviour, design, altruism, modes of communication, speed of response, and so on. The whole company, culture, in fact. So that's somebody has... Okay, so 1991, somebody said that's an old source for something quite modern. So so he's saying, I don't know if I want to include that. It's an interesting point that customers don't buy a product because of the product. They buy the product because, you know, in recent years we've concluded that there are different customers who like different things. All the very, very old marketing. My hair looks ridiculous. All the very, very old marketing scholars seem to be very generalistic, and like obviously because, you know, this contemporary view of marketing was very new back then, so all of their things are very just like, yeah, one customer, like all customers think this, and then nowadays they're just like, actually there's a difference between utilitarian and hedonistic customers, which like for example right there he's talking about more of a hedonistic approach where you care more about other factors such as like, oh, what's the company like, blah blah blah. You don't actually care about the functionality of the product, whereas obviously a utilitarian buyer would just buy a product because they need the function. I'm a utilitarian buyer. I don't really give a fuck about the product and the culture behind it. Not exactly. If Primark sells cheap shirts, I'm probably going to buy at Primark. And like utilitarian people often see buying things as a chore, something to get out of the way, and I do. That's why my room's so bloody barren, because I don't want to buy decorations. Why would I? They serve no purpose. Maybe people saw my room. I would want to make it more interesting, but it's just me in here, and Curtis doesn't care about what his room looks like. While corporate and product brands are now recognized as distinct entities, they may sometimes be considered as equivalent because they are context independent and share the same objective of creating differentiation and preference. Okay, that's also a very interesting line. While corporate and product brands are now recognized as distinct. I'm just gonna, like, instead of distinct entities, I'm just gonna put different. Like, it doesn't need to be this affluent language. God damn! They may sometimes be considered as equivalent. What a fucking posh way to put it. Because they are context independent. They may be seen as the same because they are context independent share the same objective of creating differentiation and preference. This is actually quite interesting, I have to admit. And to be honest, this style of learning, it's helping. I really did not fucking want to, but like, they say the best way of learning is teaching, and having somebody to talk to, hello, is a very interesting way of learning, and I'm doing it. I'm slowly doing it, but I'm doing it. Yet the complexity of the corporate context has fundamental implications for the nature of the corporate brand. Corporate branding goes beyond product branding by ignoring product features and focusing on a well-defined set of values. Okay. Corporate branding goes beyond product branding by ignoring. So corporate branding ignores product features and focuses on defining a set of values. There you go. That entire paragraph could just, corporate branding ignores I'm just going to put the difference between the two, between product and corporate branding. Ooh, that's Akka. Akka said that. I know Akka. Fuck off. Oh. Suggests that corporate brands differ from product brands and high strategic focus. Okay. I am excited about continuing talking about this, but I've got 5 minutes left until I need to go have... Look how dumb my hair looks. I don't know how to make my hair look nice. I don't know. That looks dumb. That looks like a dumb thing. What a fucking idiot. Oh, fuck me. So I need to stop messing with my hair. It just looks so dumb. Right, okay. I wonder what happens if I... Ooh. A bit dorky, but we'll go for it. It's nearly lunchtime, so I'm gonna go have lunch. Not too bad. That was interesting. I'm gonna continue doing this.